For over 15 years now, Arturia has been recreating and then breathing new life into legendary vintage synthesizers. Both V Collection 6 and Analog Lab 3 contain a massive library of 21 instruments and over 6,000 presets. The depth they go into and the care they take to recreate these instruments is astounding. But they don't stop there. Once they've recreated an instrument, they add additional modulations, sequencing, effects, and polyphony, taking it to an entirely new level. The purpose of this clip is to give you an overview of what's in these packages, what the differences are between them, and what's the best or cheapest way in. So let's start with the interface that's common to both packages. This is the Analog Lab 3 interface, which is the common interface both obviously to Analog Lab 3, but also to V Collection 6. Since there are so many presets, in total 6,200 and odd presets, this lets you sort through the various synths you have. You can go by sound types, styles, quite a lot to choose from, and this helps you narrow down the list. Besides synths, there are also pianos, over 450 presets to choose from here, organs, 500 plus presets here, and multi-presets are basically combinations of two instruments that you can configure to play together, and we'll go deeper into this later. So let me give you an example of narrowing this down. I want a piano, let's say a grand piano, got over 60 of those. I picked this one, and I can play it. Nice. That's the new V2 piano, by the way. Let's pick something else, a multi. Let's try this. Okay. Here both instruments are the same, but it doesn't have to be that way. Let's try this. If you have an Arturia keyboard, the parameters map automatically. But you can hook up any MIDI keyboard and MIDI learn the functions. You can also dig into the individual parameters of each part. These knobs don't give you access to all of the synth's parameters, just a few that are pre-selected by Arturia. It's easy to switch between the parts. Let's edit part 2. And there's also a third page, the live page, for controlling macros that can affect both parts. It's easy to configure, just click the macro and you can see the parameters that it can affect. Besides the presets that you get bundled with the software, there's also an online store where you can get some packages for free, some cost money, and you can try them out before you buy them. There are really nice descriptions besides every preset pack, and you can try them out easily. Nice. Let's try one more. Just click and try it out. The last common aspect across the product range is the multi-feature. Let's go a bit in depth, in particular send effects and splits. So it's really easy to set split points for each of the two parts in a multi. And for effects, you can choose any one of a number of effects and apply them very easily. Once you've finished editing the parameters, you go into the particular track, into the track sends page, and just apply the effect using a quick send. So up to here are the similarities between Analog Lab 3 and the whole of V Collection 6. So what are the differences? Well, whereas Analog Lab 3 only gives you access to about 20 parameters per synth, if you buy the individual synth or the entire collection, of course, then with a click of this button in the middle of the synth, you can get the entire machine on your desktop. You get the synth both as a standalone app, as a VST or AU plugin, and inside Analog Lab. So you can see how this knob controls this parameter, but it's really one of many, many more things you can tweak if you own the synth itself or V Collection 6. So let's see what's new in V6 and Analog Lab 3, of course. The first is a virtual buchla easel. This is a slice of West Coast synthesis heaven, and if you don't have $5,000 laying around, this is pretty close. Here are some of the parameters you can control within Analog Lab. And if you get the whole thing, you get to play with this. Now, I'm going to review this separately, so stay tuned, hit subscribe, and it'll be coming soon. Let's maybe just check out one more preset for now. A beautiful world unto itself. Next up is the Fairlight Cmi, very popular sampler, sequencer, and synth from the 80s. I'll give you just a taste of it here. I'll go through the screens very quickly. Obviously, this isn't an in-depth review. The buchla seems cheap compared to this. I think an original cost around $100,000. So here you get to keep your house and play with a CMI. Next new synth is the Yamaha Dx7. What Arturia didn't recreate here is how complex it was to program this thing. The interface here is super clear, super easy, very straightforward, and a joy to use. Again, I won't get into it here, but you should definitely try this out. It sounds great. Fantastic job. The last completely new instrument is the clavinet. Besides these new synths, the piano also got major improvements. The presets have been revamped. And a lot of the parameters can be changed in the piano because it's physically modeled, it's not just samples. Things like hammer hardness or position, string tension, all the way to microphone arrangement and room size. Beside this, there are, of course, all the other synths in the, quote, old V Collection. 16 other virtual synths that very faithfully replicate the originals and add much upon them. So what's the best or cheapest way to enjoy all this? Well, the first is free. You can download demos of Analog Lab 3 and all the other synths. And Arturia has a very generous 20-minute demo policy, and if your 20 minutes are up, just shut down the synth, restart, and you can have at it again. If you want to own their software, then I think the next best way would be to buy one of the keyboards, not the actual software. The Keylab Essential here, there's 49 keys, 61 keys, and there are other versions of their keyboards that come with Analog Lab bundled along with it, which costs pretty much the same as the software standalone. So check out those prices and see if that makes sense for you. Knobs and faders are highly recommended, whether it's one of their keyboards or something else. Oops. You just get much better direct control with knobs at your fingertips. Beyond that, you could buy the synths individually. They cost between 100 to 200 euros or dollars. But if you're going to get more than two, you might as well get the entire V Collection and get them all. I also recommend checking out the manuals, as odd as that sounds. There's a mini history lesson in every one of them, and they're really detailed. I think there's 60, 70, or 80 pages in each one of them describing every little knob and every little function. You'll certainly learn a lot about synthesis by digging into them. So that's pretty much it. I'm going to go ahead and play one or two presets from each of the rest of the synths. If you like this video, hit like. If you want to see more, click subscribe. Thanks for watching.